And hello, everyone, and welcome. The National Association of Federal Retirees is pleased to present this Safe Return to Travel webinar for you today. My name is Jeff Wolfson, and I'm the Manager of Recruitment and Member Services, and I'll be your moderator today. Our members' response to today's session has been extraordinary, with just shy of 3,000 registrations for today's session, the most to date by far for any national office webinar. We actually had to increase our Zoom license to accommodate you all, which of course we were more than happy to do. Just a bit of housekeeping before we get going. This webinar is being recorded and it will be made available on our website in the coming week or so. So no worries if you miss any, if you have to step away, you will be able to watch it again there. If you're looking for the French session, la session française, that is following at 3 p.m. That is a separate link. But again, both sessions will be available on our website for free soon. Also a reminder that you can share that link with anyone who is eligible to join the association at no cost. And this may help you get some referrals for the mega recruitment drive, which is running until December 31st. All attendees are in view only mode, which means you'll only be able to see the presenters and not each other. The Q&A and chat features in Zoom have been disabled for this webinar because the questions were collected in advance during registration. And thank you to everyone who submitted a question. However, you should be able to contact you can contact our lovely technical moderator, Joanne, if you run into any technical difficulties. Thank you, Joanne. Speaking of questions, so the Q&A session will take place at the end of the presentations, and we'll certainly try to get through as many of those as we can. All right, so let's begin. We know that our members, like all of you here today, are avid travelers. In our August SAGE readership survey, our members identified their main interests in life as travel, 58%, books, 31%, sports and leisure, 29%, and politics at 28%. We learned that over the next year, 57% of our members plan to take 1 to 2 trips within Canada, 50% plan to travel internationally, and 72% plan to take between 1 and 5 trips within their province. So clearly, we are very well aware of our members' fondness for travel, and that is why we do whatever we can to support you in that regard. We are pleased to provide you with exclusive access to things like Medoc travel insurance through Johnson Insurance and guided tours at preferred rates through Collette. And that is exactly who we will be hearing from today. First, you will be hearing from Ron Lonsdale, Vice President of Collette Canada, and he will be explaining the latest updates from the travel industry. He will share their COVID-19 experience as a company, and he will also share what Collette has in store for 2020 and beyond. Then you will hear from Shawn McCord, Senior Consultant at Johnson Insurance. We know many of you submitted questions about the latest changes to Medoc, especially as they relate to COVID-19, and Shawn's aim will be to address all of those here today. Okay, so without any further ado, Ron, over to you.
Thank you, Jeff. Well, hello, members. I'm Ron Lonsdale, Vice President with Collette, and thank you for attending today's event, A Safe Return to Travel. We truly value the partnership and the ongoing support of the federal retirees. We have had a trusted relationship for close to 2 decades, and I'm very excited to talk about travel. Now that the government has lifted its advisory against non-essential travel, travel has become more possible than ever. And Collette is a partner that you can trust. Now, as you know, the Delta variant is currently very problematic. We're not going to have a COVID-0 strategy. The success rollout of the vaccines is going to enable us to have minimization, not risk elimination. And our industry is certainly playing its part, taking great steps forward to initiate a ton of safeguard measures and protocols to allow members to travel safely for the coming year. Now, our mission statement is to enhance journeys by creating extraordinary travel experiences. And I know by that survey, 57% want to travel internationally, but why do we travel? I think we'd all agree that travel is the best education. It's one of the few things that you can buy that makes you richer. And as the world opens up to travelers, and I'm sure you're ready to share your story because that's what travel does. It creates great storytellers, and your happiness is our roadmap. Now, Collette's social responsibility. We know travel is going to be more meaningful and purposeful. Every day, we can't wait to share the world's beauty and culture with you. We are committed to taking care of the places we live, work, travel, and we focus on 4 key areas. So it's community, people, travel, and planet. And social responsibility is a way of life. It's the heart of what we do every day and every decision we make. We believe that travel should be a force of good. And by uniting forces with our employees, partners, and travelers, we can make a positive impact on our local and global communities. Now, as a travel partner, the Collette difference is to give the traveler integrity and to give you more peace of mind, more expertise, more on tour, and the more needed flexibility and more exclusive member benefits. So traveling with Collette really comes with benefits that takes the guided travel experience to another level. The emphasis on the value and the experience. Now, your exclusive benefit, wanted just to get this right off the bat. Members save $100 per person on any tour, and it's combinable with any in-market offer. And you just have to use the offer code FRSAVE to learn about special savings of up to $500 per person. Wonderful news is that this benefit can be also used for friends and family. Now, not to get too much into product, but we're ecstatic to kick off our 104th season of traveling the world. We have 160 tours to all 7 continents. So no matter how you want to see the world, we can take you there. Whether you want to travel across an entire country, dive into a local culture, or come to know one of the best world cities, we have the travel experience that's right for you. So let's hear from our talented product managers and designers who curate these amazing, authentic, immersive programs.
We have over 160 tours to all 7 continents and 5 distinct travel styles.
Spotlights is our fastest growing travel style. These tours stay in one destination and really give travelers a chance to live like a local, explore, and experience the city in depth.
Spotlight on Paris is always très populaire. After all, it is the city of love.
Explorations programs are small group tours that offer more culturally immersive experiences.
Explore the Alps entirely by train on Switzerland, hidden trails and majestic peaks.
In 2020, all Explorations tours will be carbon neutral, and most of those tours will have impact moments. Impact moments are responsible experiences like visiting a social enterprise, supporting the local community, or doing something to protect the environment.
Our classic tours span the globe. They feature the must-see sites. They connect travelers with the local culture and have the food that's worth traveling for.
Our product design team is on the road all year, creating tours that our guests are asking for. We stay ahead of trends.
We listen. We collaborate.
We innovate.
That's why this year we have over 20 new tours to places like Morocco, Patagonia, Croatia, Greece, the Azores, and Russia.
We've been doing this for a long time.
Now, the travel landscape has transformed like anything else we've seen before, and Colette's pandemic story has been unique as we used 103 years of experience to provide flexibility and trust as we navigate the crisis with guests and partners. We keep getting the same question: how has Collette adapted and pivoted since the pandemic? So let's take a moment to hear from Colette's president, Jacqueline Leibel-Cote.
As the vaccine rollout continues and the return of travel is on the horizon, we want to take a moment to reflect on the last year. One question that so many have asked me throughout this experience is, how did Collette get through this? The tourism and hospitality industry was devastated by COVID-19. How did you get through this? And the answer simply is, we did what we always do. We did the right thing. We put our customers first. And that was how we got through this, even though that was not easy in these unprecedented circumstances. We entered into 2020 on track to have the best year in our company's history, and then suddenly, that spirit of excitement was extinguished and we were in the pandemic and the world was in lockdown. And honestly, it was utter chaos in the beginning. This was a crisis we crashed into from the highest possible place. We had to cancel the majority of our tours and make some incredibly difficult decisions. Many travelers out there were left with no choice but to take a future travel voucher. but we empowered our guests to make the best decision for them, whether it be rebooking for a later date, a future travel voucher, or your money back. And we gave over $135 million back to travelers in refunds because we firmly believe we have not earned your money until your tour operates. We have done this during other crises, the housing crisis of '08, 9/11, and others. We didn't see this as a decision. This is just what we do, what we have been doing for decades. Our financial stability has allowed us to protect our customers in both good times and in bad. We got through this by staying true to ourselves. We're a family business. Employees, partners, travelers, you're all a part of the family. We work hard to earn your trust, and we will always work hard to keep it. We are coming through this crisis with a strong sense of who we are. We are the company you can trust to always do the right thing and always put you first, no matter what is going on in the world. Today, we see hope on the horizon. With the vaccine rollout underway, the spirit of excitement is returning. Travel is coming back. For now, travelers can enjoy exploring within their own country, and eventually we will all be traveling the world again. And I think we will all appreciate it on a much deeper level. I know that I will. I can't wait to get back out there again and see you on the road.
Now, there's no denying that life and travel likely look a little different for the foreseeable future. And our team of consultants, health and security experts all over the world, because your well-being and happiness is our top focus and priority. And we've dedicated a full landing page where you can see the most up-to-date wellness protocols, because again, each member that travels with us deserves a memorable and fulfilling experience. And we can intend to continue to deliver on that promise. And we actually continue to review and update all our policy and requirements when they're lifted. So this is, to read more about these measures, plus frequently asked questions, you can go on to the Collette website under the Traveling Well experience. Now, on tour health protocols, you'll need to provide proof of double vaccination to travel on all Collette tours. And on October 21st, 2021, the government of Canada lifted their blanket advisory to avoid non-essential travel related to COVID-19. There is advisories now destination specific. What remains the same is the travel advisory to avoid all cruise ship travel. And the great news is that all Canadian provinces and territories have agreed to conform their proof of vaccine document or COVID-19 vaccine passports to a national standard so that they can be used for international and domestic travel. Now, there's many, many questions. So every question you have about travel has an answer. And if it doesn't, it's our job as travel experts to find it. Which countries are letting Canadians in? What should you bring on your tour? How do I access my vaccine history so I can board a plane? We've connected with all our travel partners, analyzed current and past trends, looked at what keeps travelers safe, and put it all down here. That means you can be as knowledgeable as a travel expert as we are. And to help guests and travel professionals navigate the ever-changing list of international travel and testing requirements, we have a referred partnership with the CIBT. This is our online resource that you can find on the website. Now, if you are planning on travel outside the country, you need to download the ArriveCan app. And it provides mandatory travel information before and after you enter into Canada. But be cautious of third-party fraudulent web pages and apps that may be posing as ArriveCan and asking you for payment. So once you download it through your app or Google Play, once you fill it out on the requested information, you'll receive a notification in minutes with an approved receipt that you have a QR code to present to the Canadian Border Service Officer upon your return home to Canada. Now, steps we're taking pre-tour. Our travel protection plan financially protects you in the event you need to cancel or move your trip. We're doing pre-tour health screenings. We'll ask each traveler to complete a wellness declaration form before joining their tour. With our air-inclusive bookings, we provide sedan service, so your ride to and from the airport will be stocked with fresh water for every pickup, and all services will be disinfected daily and even after every passenger. But here's the interesting thing, air travel. Specific details will vary by airline, by standard operations, typically include flight attendants wearing masks and sanitizing all services between flights. But the cases of transmission of communicable disease on aircraft are very rare. So I just wanted to, not to get too technical, but the air on board modern aircraft and our deluxe coaches is a mix of 50% fresh air, 50% cabin or coach air. Both are equipped with high efficiency particulates air filters to continuously purify air. So the HEPA filters effectively capture 99.9% of particulates from recirculating air in the aircraft or coach. So the air is really refreshed every 2 to 3 minutes for a total of 20 to 30 total air changes per hour. That's just like hospital rooms, just to put things in perspective. Now, also the steps we're taking for you on tour. We have enhanced our already high levels of training for our tour managers. They're local experts and highly trained to handle a variety of unexpected COVID situations, including illness and emergencies. But the Collette Tour Manager can and will help guests requiring a PCR test, to return home. And also what the managers will do, they have a communication strategy where they'll send you a welcome email prior to departure. And should you have any questions, concerns, they can be addressed by the tour manager at that time. So please note the steps that we're taking if someone shows symptoms and if someone tests positive. Again, we can spend a lot of time on this, but you can read more about these measures in in detail on our website. Now, members can cancel for any reason and get a full cash refund. We've given to date 180 million Canadian. So this is right up to 24 hours prior to departure, no age discrimination, no pre-medical conditions. We've offered this plan for decades to give travelers assurance every step of the way with no blackout windows or hidden restrictions. So every tour, every departure, every time, Collette has you covered. And I guess the million-dollar question is, does this travel protection plan cover COVID interruption, and quarantine? And the answer is yes. Also, when you book the travel protection plan at time of booking, pre-existing conditions are waived, and we have a policy on this. Now, with the pandemic pushing us towards digital, I wanted to introduce the new Ultimate Travel Planner app by Collette. So this is where you can hold the entire world in your hands. The Collette Compass travel app provides you with a wealth of travel knowledge. This is an easy-to-use digital companion that does not require the use of data or being connected to the Wi-Fi. You upload this app 45 days prior to your departure. Now, people always ask, what's the benefits on going on a multi-day guided vacation? One, safety and security. Value. You save 30 to 40% doing a multi-day guided vacation opposed to doing it yourself. The camaraderie, the local experts. And when we asked travelers and members, they said, it opens your mind, experiences to new cultures, see what life's like from a local perspective, creates valuable memories, far prices than material things. Memories will last you a lifetime. Helps you find your freedom, leave all your worries behind and soak up some of the world's best views, and connects you and yourself with others, like-minded travelers. Now, every destination has its iconic locations that are simply a must for visitors. So Collette is very inclusive itineraries, interweave access to what we call the must-sees, with immersive experience to create a richer portrait of the destination. So, the iconic landmarks, the must-sees, but the experience is greater and richer. And it's more the antiquities, cultures, and flavor. Also, dining is a form of entertainment. We include 57% of our overall meals and 60% of our dinners on tour. And we focus on building in more meals outside hotels for local delicacies and cuisines. These are incredible inclusions that are included in the upfront in the tour price. They're not extra experiences that are added after you book. Now, the other thing is people want more personalization and customization. So with your choice on tour, guests get to customize their experience by choosing between 2 different included on-tour experiences, putting you in control on how you want to spend your day on tour. And we have resumed operations. We're currently running a number of international tours with Canadian American guests. And the first one departed back in April to Costa Rica. And we say, why adventure? It's a collection of experiences that are fulfilling to the soul. Let's witness it.
What better way to spend my 80th birthday? Pura vida!
Happy birthday to
I'm embarrassed because I'm tearing up. Awesome day.
I always get emotional when I see that woman at 80 years of old ziplining. But again, the journey starts and ends at the door. So again, I just wanted to remind people, we take the hassle of getting to and from the airport behind, where you get to enjoy round trip private sedan service when you book our air, and it's within a 100-kilometer radius of most Canadian airports. Now the question we get now is solo travelers. We have a very low single supplement, and solo travelers are never alone when they go guided. They already have a made up group of traveling companions and friends to share their experiences. We don't match, but some of the group travel promotions and exclusive departures that we have for next year, we are making a conscious effort to see if we can match travelers. And the other thing is unique is that people want their new social bubble experience with hand-picked travel companions. So with Collette, we have private touring. So any tour, all yours. Choose any tour and build your guest list of 10 or more, friends, family, social group, or any other special collection of travelers. We'll handle the rest. Now, where to next? Travel confidence is on the rise. Travelers want to make up for lost trips. We haven't traveled almost up to 2 years. So we're looking for new places, new faces, and have a curiosity for adventure. And, just the last month, booking volumes are on the rise, for the travel months ahead. We've seen a welcome increase in bookings, along with a ton of search and viewed interest in the past 2 weeks. And we expect this to continue as customers' confidence again is returning, pent-up demand for long-awaited adventures. So the 5 tours that are been our top viewed, searched, and booked.
Ron,
Yeah.
Ron, I'm so sorry to interrupt you. We're actually seeing a frozen screen from the video. Can you maybe try stop sharing and then resharing on the correct correct slide? I think the video, we ran into a bit of a technical issue once you tried to share that video. But if you want to pick up where you left off, the video is, I haven't seen it. It was a lovely video of a woman ziplining.
Okay, I'm just going to see. Sorry, can you, do you see that now, the private sedan service?
No, I think that I would try resharing your screen one more time and just at the slide.
Okay. My apologies, Jeff.
That's okay.
And for the folks out there,
yeah, that's great. If you want to just resume from there, that's great.
Okay, so yes, and I think I did talk about the private touring and where to next, and the travel confidence on the rise, and the travel trends, and then what we have is the top 5 destinations being booked that we're so excited for you to travel, and we can't wait to have you reconnect the joy and love of travel. But Scotland, Ireland, Spain and Portugal, Iceland, Italy, and now with the encouraging news and announcement in the South Pacific, Australia, and New Zealand. And also, I just want to point out, we do have the Collette Passport Club. It's designed to celebrate our value guests with travel benefits and special recognition. You receive a $150 travel credit after you travel. And yes, it's combined with the member benefit and any other offer in market. And also, to renew the love for travel, we have these 3 scheduled group departures for next year. You can embark on the Iberian adventure as you take in the medieval architecture, pristine landscapes, and delectable cuisine. Explore Lisbon, Europe's 2nd oldest capital city. You get to enjoy reserved seating at a flamingo show. Become part of authentic Bahia experience, and you get to explore Spain and Portugal's priceless treasures of art, history, and culture, set against backdrop of sunny Mediterranean shores and grand mountainscapes. So, or the next one we have is bask in the warm Celtic culture and majestic scenery of 2 remarkable lands. Come to know the regal city of Edinburgh on a panoramic coach or by foot. Enjoy Scotch whiskey tasting and cruise the Loch Ness, and also explore the ruins of Urquhart Castle. Visit the Titanic Experience Museum in Belfast, and the Giant Causeway. These are 2 incredible countries, but so March 19th through April 2nd of 2022, we have Spain's Classics and Portugal. And then May 15th to the 27th, we have Exploring Scotland and Ireland. And also for next October 24th 4th to the 24th, we're offering Australia's outback to New Zealand's South Island. So you'll get to venture through the natural splendor of New Zealand, Southern Alps, and the stillness of Australia's rugged outback. This is where you take in the Dreamtime tour in the outback, introducing you to the Aboriginal life and culture, tour Sydney's Opera House with an expert guide, enjoy a delightful dinner cruise in Sydney Harbour, meet Australia and New Zealand's famous wildlife up close, cruise Milford Sound from Alex Springs to Uluru, which is Ayers Rock, to the snow-capped peaks and fjords. I say New Zealand's like the Swiss Alps, fjords of Norway, English rolling hills, all nestled in one. Australia has that Irish culture, but with Aboriginal, Indigenous heritage and iconic cultural. And I just wanted to point out that there is a national toll-free number to inquire about these trips. It's 1-855-593-2665. Or if you're within the 613 area code, it's 282-3870. And we do have some French tours that we're in the process of designing and having set for departure in 22. But also we've created new interactive travel guides that allows you to be redirected to the website with important information just as a click. So these tours allow you to provide us and show you videos, great images and content, highlights, hotel information, testimonials. And we have come up with a hard copy brochure for the Worldwide Travel Guide, new tours, and at the end of the month, we'll have our new European brochure. And also, I just wanted to let you know with the Safe Return to Travel, we do have a Black Friday, Cyber Monday sale. It's now to November 30th. We know international travel is back for 22, so it's time to get excited and plan that trip you all have been waiting for. So again, it varies by destination, by seasonality, and by departure, but it's up to 20%. And also what we're finding is that revenge travel spending is lurking. We're seeing people doubling down on their travel plans. They're taking, instead of taking fewer shorter trips, they're doing that long one where it's going to be maybe a cruise and a land, or maybe a combined two tours. And we're offering more of a added savings and a benefit to the members. And again, why travelers love Collette: the breadth of product, hotel selection, on-tour pacing, culinary experiences, choice on tour, and the unique tours that allows you to take that deep dive into the antiquities, culture, and flavor of the destination. So I'm going to end with this. This is your someday.
How many times have you told yourself, someday you'll travel to that special place? The place you've spoken about, dreamed about. It's so close, you can almost feel it. The warmth of the sun, the sound of music you've never heard before, the discovery of a new flavor. Today isn't like any other day. Today is the day where you set off for new horizons. Stop waiting for the perfect time and make this time perfect. This is your trip of a lifetime. Someday you'll travel to that special place. Your someday is here.
Now, I like to end with a quote because we talk about the wonder list or bucket list, but we travel not to escape life, but for life not to escape us. And one thing I heard was, I'm going to ski, and I'm like, you're an avid skier? And no, spend kids' inheritance before they do. So that's going to be your encouragement to travel and enjoy yourself the right way. And Canada has been a world leader in terms of having citizens vaccinated. And now we can be a world leader in people to start traveling again, and to safely support communities around the world that have been devastated by the lack of tourism for these past 19 months. So we want to put hope in your travel calendar for the year ahead. We know Rome wasn't built in a day, but to book a tour takes minutes. And I would encourage you to speak to your travel agent. They're making the booking process very easy and effortless, beginning to end. So thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Ron. That was great. Yeah, obviously, Collette being preferred partners of ours, we were sort of with them for the whole wild ride, along for the ride in 2020. Obviously, we felt it as well. We all saw it, and we just wish you the best of luck for 2022 and beyond as we return to travel. And we know you've got great foundation and great roots, and yeah, looks like you've got some great products. So very exciting indeed. So thank you, Ron. Now we're going to shift gears and move over to Shawn McCord. Shawn McCord is a senior consultant with Johnson Insurance and looks after the Medoc portfolio. He's been actually working with Johnson and I think with Medoc specifically for like 20 years, I think, and working with federal retirees that whole time. So we've got a long-standing relationship with him. He's an absolute wealth of knowledge, as you'll soon see. And I know many of you have a lot of questions about the changes to Medoc and what COVID has done to the travel insurance industry, as I said, and specifically Medoc. So Shawn, over to you.
Well, thank you for the kind introduction, and hello, everybody. I've been missing all of you, no doubt about that. I miss my travels across the country to get out and do these presentations in person, speak to you about travel insurance, emerging trends, what's new in our industry. And well, without a doubt, there's a lot new, and I've certainly been feeling for all of you who enjoy travel so very much, certainly as the survey that Jeff alluded to and spoke about proved. And we're happy to say that as confidence is growing, we've got your back and we are ready for you and we are back in business. In fact, some of you may have been trying to get a hold of us over the last few weeks, and since the border opening, you can only imagine the volumes of calls. So it's wonderful to see that we've got lots of interest. Members are coming back into the fold again. And I'm also pleased to advise that our service performance has improved drastically over the last week or so, where we're able to get back on top of the calls, got all of our online applications processed. So we're in a great place and we are ready, and our staff are ready to answer any questions you have on travel, keeping safe during travel, and ultimately getting yourself that peace of mind you need when you're starting your adventure. So while we start into this presentation, for those of you that aren't aware of Johnson, we have, as Jeff said, been working with the National Association for a long, long time now. 1992 is when we started on the travel insurance side, followed shortly thereafter with our home and automobile insurance offering in 1996. This number of 45,000 National Association federal retiree members and spouses are Medoc policyholders. It's certainly a number we're very, very proud of. That number used to be much higher, as you can imagine, as well, pre-COVID. And we're very hopeful that we will see you all come back into the fold again as you start your travel journeys. Something that's very important to note with this plan that Medoc offers that makes it very, very unique from others in the marketplace is that this plan has been designed specifically for you as active public servants or retirees. This plan wraps around that public service healthcare coverage that you all do carry, providing you with some augmented coverage, giving you that extra peace of mind you ultimately need when traveling. So what Medoc does for you is it increases that public service healthcare plan emergency medical coverage maximum of $500,000 per person per occurrence, up to $10 million Canadian per person per occurrence. Again, the whole reason we exist is to provide you with that ultimate peace of mind when you're traveling, and this most certainly does do that. So Medoc also covers many other benefits and expenses not covered by the public service healthcare plan at all. Some of these include vehicle return of up to $5,000. So if you're traveling, you run into a health situation, you need to be air ambulance back home to Canada, but of course your vehicle is left in limbo at destination. We will arrange to get that vehicle returned home for you. If you're traveling with a pet, similar situation, we will afford up to $500 to secure that safe return of your pet from destination as well. The plan provides in-hospital private duty nursing care, baggage and personal effects coverage, flight accident and accidental death and dismemberment coverage, and something very popular is our trip cancellation, trip interruption, and trip delay benefits. And to elaborate a little more on that one, should you and your family member, close family, business associate, caregiver, traveling companion, or other family members suffer a medical emergency before your trip, Medoc covers up to $15,000 per insured person per trip for any of those trips you take during the year for trip cancellation. There's some other benefits covered by MEDOC that are very popular. Additional meals and additional expenses for meals and accommodations up to $350 per person to a maximum of $3,500 per occurrence. Heaven forbid, in the event of the worst, repatriation or burial at place of death up to a maximum of $5,000. Incidental hospital expenses up to $50 per day to a maximum of $2,000 per insured. Drugs and medication are covered in this plan as well in the event that they're prescribed in the event of an emergency medical situation. Air emergency transportation or evacuation back to Canada and back to your home province is included with all of our plans. Emergency dental care up to $5,000. Emergency relief of dental pain is also covered up to $600. Some of these numbers may seem strange or you wonder where they come from, but we've looked closely at the public service healthcare plan for areas where they might be soft or light on coverage, and we've augmented those limits under our side to make sure that you're not going to be stuck out of pocket in the event of a claim situation for emergency medical. Another nice benefit if you happen to be traveling alone is we'll arrange for transportation of a family member to your bedside, regardless of where you are in the world, in the event that you do have a medical emergency and are in hospital. So when looking at our MEDOC travel insurance plans, we've got a couple of trip options for you. The most popular is our 40-day annual base plan coverage. Roughly 75 to 80% of our total policyholders purchase this plan, and it provides you an unlimited number of trips of up to 40 days in duration each. Okay. That, again, mirrors your public service healthcare plan that allows you for an unlimited number of trips so long as no one trip exceeds 40 days in duration. Now, it also increases that public service healthcare plan maximum from $500,000 up to $10 million. Some may say $500,000 seems like a lot of money these days. Do I really need more than that? And what I can assure you is, yes, you absolutely and ultimately do, in order to protect yourself from emergency medical situations that can be severe in nature. We have many claims that eclipse that over 500,000, even up into the millions of dollars. Again, as we mentioned, the 40-day annual base plan includes coverage for trip cancellation, trip interruption, and delay for every trip you take during the policy year. So this is not a blanket limit of $15,000 per year. It is $15,000 per insured person per trip for every trip you take during that policy year. And it also provides you with that maximum peace of mind with no requirement to complete a health questionnaire. And you also don't need to report your travel dates. The reason behind this, folks, is the public service healthcare plan does not require you to tell them when you're coming and going, nor does it ask you to fill out a medical questionnaire before each and every trip that you take. As we built this plan to wrap around and coordinate with the public service healthcare plan, we've mirrored those rules. So again, quite unique that you can go on a limited number of trips up to 40 days in duration, no medical evidence to provide at all, no health questionnaire to fill out. And again, you just keep that coverage in your back pocket, keep it in your purse. When you leave and come back, so long as no trip exceeds 40 days in duration, you're all set. And you don't need to call us and tell us when you're coming or going. Provides you with that nice flexibility. And for those who might live close to the border, it also gives you that opportunity to make a decision on a whim and just take off and go and know that ultimately you will be covered and protected if something was to happen to you. Now, for those travelers who like to go on trips longer than 40 days in duration, we sell what we call our supplemental plan. Now, for those trips, you can purchase right up to 182 days. In fact, we have rates for 212 days, which is the provincial maximum for the provinces of Newfoundland, Ontario, New Brunswick, Manitoba, Alberta, and BC. For all other provinces, the maximum you're allowed to be out of your province of residence is 182 days per year. With the purchase of the supplemental plan, the 40-day base plan is automatically included at no additional cost. So you use a scenario where you wanted to go to Florida for January and February. You purchase a 60-day plan, but then you decide that you want to go to Florida or you want to go elsewhere for a couple of week trip or 30-day trip. No need to call us to book any additional insurance. You've now got that 40-day base plan to cover you. be it before or after that duration that falls within that calendar or within our policy year. So as many trips as you want up to 40 days in duration are added on top of that 160-day trip you purchase under the supplemental plan. Now, for the supplemental plan options, completion of a health option questionnaire is required to determine what rate we're going to charge you for the coverage. So our rate categories are standard, preferred, and optimum. And it is important to note, folks, that this is an all-comers plan, that we will take you regardless of your age, regardless of your health status. We simply ask that you complete that health questionnaire so that we can know the appropriate premium to charge, that rate category, standard, preferred, or optimum. Folks, when you're shopping travel insurance or exploring travel insurance in the marketplace, the stability clause is maybe one of the most important pieces or facets to the travel insurance policy that you want to familiarize yourself with and make sure that you are very comfortable with. They come in varying shapes, forms, sizes, durations, in that some companies will have a 90-day stability clause, some have a very rigid one, some have 180 days or even 365-day stability clauses, meaning that you need to be stable for your current condition that you may have, be it minor or major. You need to be stable. We'll get into what the definition of stability means soon, but essentially no change in treatment or no change in medication in the 90 days prior to travel. Good news for you folks, all those base plan travelers, like we said, represents roughly 75 to 80% of federal retirees who purchase the Medoc travel insurance program. You are not subject to a stability clause. The public service healthcare plan does not have one, and therefore neither do we. For those supplemental plan policyholders, when you complete that health questionnaire, if you've qualified for the optimum or the preferred health option, well, good news, no medical stability clause for you to satisfy either in your 90 days prior to leaving on that trip. It is only those folks who've purchased a supplemental plan, again, the trip's longer than 40 days, they filled out that questionnaire, and they've fallen under the standard health option. For those individuals, you need to satisfy that 90-day stability clause. And what does that medical stability clause actually mean? And what does stability mean? Well, the definition is as follows. No new treatment or no new prescribed medication, no change in treatment or prescribed medication, no new symptoms or change in frequency of the symptoms, and no hospitalization or referral to a specialist in the 90 days prior to travel. Okay, and as we see here, for the 90 days prior to booking your trip for reasons of trip cancellation, not trip interruption because you haven't left yet, for the trip cancellation portion. Some other factors that continue to make Medoc unique in the marketplace is that we do offer easy monthly premium payments. Premiums are paid through automatic bank deductions. You do, of course, have the option, if you choose to pay lump sum or would like to pay lump sum, we can do one single deduction out of your account as well. I always suggest to folks to give the monthly a try, and I say that for a couple of reasons. Our plan is very flexible in that, let's say at the beginning of the year, you decide that the base plan option is going to be plenty sufficient for any of your travel throughout the year. The 40-day plan is going to be adequate, and that will be great. Well, you pay monthly. On that basis, we take your total amount divided over the 12 premium deductions that we get, and you carry on. But let's say your plans change. November 1st, December 1st, you get presented with an opportunity to go on a longer trip, and you decide that's what you want to do. Or you are away traveling on that 40-day trip with full intentions to return in that 40-day window, but nothing's really pulling you home and you decide to stay longer. You can simply call Johnson. We will amend the duration of your trip, have you run through that medical questionnaire quickly to determine the rate category that will now charge you under supplemental. And that additional cost will simply be divided by the remaining number of payments left in the policy year. You're not stuck arranging to get a bank draft done or get a certified check sent to us because you're already midterm in a policy year and out of country. Keeps it very simple, very streamlined, and that's the whole intention, to make it as flexible for you as we possibly can. Now, something else that we do every year is we provide an automatic annual reissue. Another word for reissue is renewal of your policy. And we do this for very good reasons. We've been conditioning our policyholders for many years to say, go, have a great time. You've got that annual base plan. You don't need to tell us when you're coming or going. Well, the last thing that we would ever want would be to see somebody out of province or out of country exposed in a situation where now their coverage has lapsed and they're in a place where medical bills could skyrocket in an awful hurry if there was a medical emergency ever to happen. So we will automatically renew that coverage for you. And unless you advise us otherwise, we will carry it on based on the assumptions from the previous year. And it should also be noted that we give you a window of time every year. So our policies renew on September 1, but we will allow you until October 5th each year to change your mind, decide that, no, it's not something I want. And you can call in, cancel, and you will be reimbursed any of the premiums that you paid for that first coverage month. So essentially, you will not be out of pocket 1 cent for that. Now, for supplemental plan policyholders, these are, again, those who travel on trips longer than 40 days and who complete that health option questionnaire. I often get asked the question, why do we have to complete a health option questionnaire every single year? We're a perennial snowbird or traveler that goes for longer than 40 days. Why do we have to keep doing this? The simple answer is, and it falls within THIA regulations as well, that your health could change at a moment's notice. And for that reason, we do need an updated health questionnaire completed every year to ensure that we have the proper snapshot of what's happening currently with your health, and we rate accordingly based on that. Okay. One thing else that I can also mention and should mention, for those of you who complete that health option questionnaire when you enroll, whatever you qualified for, be it standard, preferred, or optimum, that health option is guaranteed for the rest of the year. You are locked in at that health option, okay? So if your health was to deteriorate even after you renewed your policy and enrolled, we will keep you with that optimum level, let's say, if you qualified for optimum, until the following policy year, even though there has been a health event that has, in fact, changed your health situation. Some other unique factors of MEDOC, certainly in the retiree market, there is no maximum age limit. And the fact that there's also no health limitations to purchase coverage, that's another piece that makes it very unique. A lot of travel plans that we see out in the marketplace will cease at age 70, some at 71, some at 80 or 81 as well. But rest assured, this does not have a maximum age. And again, as we talked about earlier, we will accept you regardless of your age, regardless of your health status. Perhaps maybe the most misunderstood or the most undervalued benefit to our program is the coordination piece with your public service healthcare plan. When people buy insurance, what they're buying essentially is a promise that if something happens to me, I am going to be looked after, I'm going to be protected, and you're going to protect me from financial hardship. Well, when you're dealing with two insurers, it can be challenging at times. Who pays first? How much do they pay? How much does the other insurance pay? With this setup, it's very, very simple. We ask that you, in the event of a medical emergency, you give Global Excel Medical a call. These are the gatekeepers to the claims. They're a travel assistance provider that work for the insurance company that will help you in a claim situation, direct you to where you need to go. They also help us manage these claims. They negotiate these claims downward to make sure that we can keep this plan very affordable for all. So Global Excel, or GEM, as we refer to them in the presentation, plays a very, very critical role in this. But their ultimate job is to make this as streamlined and as easy for you as possible. So they will help with that assistance and coordination with the folks, the travel assistance providers for the public service healthcare plan. So let's talk, folks, about some new plan enhancements that have come out for 2021 and 2022. So for those of you who were traveling with us, you will remember when the travel advisories came on for COVID, we had a clause in our policy that stated that we must get all travelers home safely. That has always been our mantra and our mandate, that we're going to put protection first, period. And we paid an enormous amount of trip interruption claims, getting people on flights back home when flights were very difficult to get. Well, we want you to be aware that we understand, hearing from some of you, that the preference would have been to stay, or I would have liked to have had the option. So through negotiations, to be honest, that were ongoing even long before COVID happened, we've now made revisions that we will continue to provide you with coverage. So let's say a non-essential travel, do not travel advisory comes on again for purposes related to COVID. One, That exclusion is gone. So we will continue to provide you with medical coverage at destination for COVID-19 in the event that a travel advisory is issued when you are away traveling. Okay, if it's issued before you go away, you can absolutely still go, and you will be provided with medical protection up to your 10 million maximum for COVID-19. But another element that this also tweaked, and where we had started looking at this a few years previous, if there's a travel advisory on for a given country, or perhaps regions within a given country, a popular one would be in Mexico, where there's a lot of crime, criminal activity, cartel activity happening. If the travel advisory was on for that given region, well, that was just a no-no under our MEDOC, that no, if the Canadians have a travel advisory in place, we will not cover if you head to that destination, period, full stop. Well, we have made a tweak and changed it now that if you actively choose to travel to that region within Mexico using that same scenario, and something was to happen to you directly related to the reason the travel advisory was issued. So heaven forbid, in this example, you're in the heart of, or you're involved in this criminal activity, and there's a shootout or something happens in the town or the community that causes disruption, and you're directly hurt as a result of that, there would not be coverage. However, if you're on the beach and you're walking along and twist your ankle or roll your ankle, or heaven forbid have a heart attack or something like that, absolutely all of that would be covered. So it's only those things directly related to the reason the travel advisory has been issued, there would be no coverage for. So this is more streamlining us with the rest of the market where it's shifted to in the last couple of years, because our competitors are doing the same thing now. So yes, they'll allow you to go to that place in Mexico as well. You're involved in that gang related or that cartel activity shootout, heaven forbid, that happens in that town. No, there would not be coverage for that, but anything else would absolutely be covered. The second bullet that you'll see are return to home province or territory. Trips are separated if less than 24 hours. We used to have a provision in our policy, folks, that when you return home to Canada, it's very important to note, when you reset your MEDOC travel insurance, or those 40 days of coverage, or your trip period, it's not just a return to Canada, it needs to be back to your province of residence. So when you have returned, we used to state that it had to be 24 hours before you could depart again, before coverage would reset, but that is no longer the case. As long as you touch back in your province of residence, you're here for an hour and you board another plane and off you go again, that coverage is reset and you are starting a new trip, effective then immediately. The third bullet point, automatic extension of coverage if you are unfit to travel. So we've always had, folks, an automatic extension of 72 hours, especially designed for those travelers who drive to Florida, drive to different destinations in the south. They're trying to make their way home and they hit a snowstorm and they have to stay put for a day or two. We do an automatic extension of coverage of 72 hours and have been doing so for years and years. But this bullet is specifically speaking to a new benefit that we put in, that if you've fallen ill, you're not required to be in hospital, but you're quite ill and you're not able to start your travel journey home, we will extend your coverage for 5 full days. If you're going to need more than that, folks, we ask that you call into us to secure some more travel coverage for that return home, to make sure that you're ultimately covered for your whole return, because heaven forbid, we never know when something could happen. This one is more housekeeping items, but exclusion for mountain climbing is clarified. I have had a few questions about this, and a few have, of course, joked with me and said, I don't do a heck of a lot of mountain climbing, Shawn, but what is it that we're worried about? Well, the exclusion applies only for the type of specialized climbing that requires rope and special equipment. Okay, if you're hiking up the side of a mountain, you're on a tour, you're even go to do your own little hike, no problem. That you're absolutely covered if something was to happen to you. It's only for that specialized climbing that requires ropes and special equipment that we specifically exclude from coverage. Now, folks, a big one here, and not the most popular, I absolutely appreciate it, is for this year's policy year, trip cancellation, trip interruption, and trip delay benefits are excluded for COVID-19 related events. I'm very sorry, folks, for that. At the time when we renew our policy, so we have a September 1 renewal, and we negotiated in February, March, and April. In the travel insurance marketplace, there was nobody offering any COVID-related trip cancellation, trip interruption, trip delay benefits at that time. And we were not able to secure this coverage through our reinsurer. What didn't help us either, of course, is the fact that our claims were well over 10 times the norm, with COVID, of course, having happened, and return flight homes for folks paying out any of those prepaid condominiums or travel expenses for accommodations that happened during the height of COVID as well. So folks, this is very, very important. And in the Q&A, we will speak to this a little more. There are some pointed questions directly around trip cancellation, trip interruption, trip delay. When does it apply? But I want to be very clear and very transparent that unfortunately for this year's policy anyway, we are not able to offer that coverage. So if you are away at destination, you get your PCR test before coming home, and it's determined that you do have COVID-19, you will most certainly be covered right up to $10 million for any emergency medical that is required as a result of that. If COVID puts you in the hospital and requires an air ambulance home, absolutely no problem, 100% covered. But if you are diagnosed and now are required to quarantine, you're not required to go to hospital or anything, but you have to quarantine for 14 days. Any of those non-medical costs, like securing accommodations, your meals, etc., unfortunately, there is no coverage for that under the trip interruption or trip delay benefits. Moving over, folks, something that a lot of our members aren't really aware of, or the value that it brings, is for travel inside of Canada. A lot of people think we don't need any of it at all. We have OHIP, we have RAMQ, we have, pick your province and whatever health coverage you do have. Well, that's not exactly true. There are definitely reciprocals between provinces, but your limits of coverage absolutely vary between province. And it is the responsibility of you to pay the difference if the fees are higher in that province, given what your province budgets for and what they will allow and what they will ultimately pay. So the example here is, what if an Ontario resident driving from Ontario to BC gets into a car accident in Banff? As an Ontario resident that's now out of province, their OHIP coverage may be limited. Following coverage is available under the MEDOC plan, and quite frankly, folks, it does get used. We started to see the air ambulance even being used within Canada now. As hospitals fill up and you require an emergency surgery, let's say it's a gallbladder attack and you need that, if they can stabilize you, we've seen it happening a lot where they will air ambulance back to your home province to do the procedure because their hospitals are just full. And in times of COVID, flu season upon us, this can be very real and can happen, and there can be individuals stuck with bills out of pocket for having to look after this. But rest assured, this plan does cover you right up to your 10 million maximum. Now, you're never going to need that much, but you are absolutely covered, again, giving you that full peace of mind. So we talked a little bit about Global Excel earlier. They are the MEDOC Claims Assistance Center. So these folks really are that gatekeeper to everything claims, all right? They provide 24-hour emergency service, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. In the event of an emergency, we ask that you please call us first, okay, wherever possible. If the decision has to be made whether I call an ambulance or whether I call MEDOC, please call the ambulance, please, please. You can get to us when you can, and we will sort things out. But we do ask wherever possible to call, and it's for good reason. They will assist you in getting you directed to the hospital that best suits you or your loved one's needs, meaning they're not going to send you to an orthopedic hospital if you're having a cardiac event in Florida. Little things like this that may not seem like a lot, but in the event of an emergency situation, you want to make sure, one, you're triaged and sent to the right place, and two, what happens 9 out of 10 times is by the time you arrive at hospital, be it in your car or if you've had to call an ambulance after to get a transport, they are ready for you the second that you show up. And they will be wheeling you in and your care will start immediately. So the other pieces and why it's very important to call in advance, health is very much a for-profit enterprise in the United States and in other countries. To that end, they will try and run you through as many diagnostic machines as they can. without pre-approval if they are given that opportunity. So where Global Excel manages things, and again, this intent has never been to limit your care, folks, not at all. But very often it's not required that you will need a PET scan, an MRI, and a CAT scan if you're presenting with headache. But if we don't call GEM first, they will try different tactics. And once the procedure has been done, it has been done. So Global Excel is paramount in helping with that. They are not going to decline you, folks, a diagnostic if you require it. Don't you worry about that. But they're also going to help us trim the fat as well when it comes to looking at renegotiating these, managing our overall expenses that ultimately manage the overall premiums that everybody pays for this. Another nice part that Global Excel will do is they'll help relay important information and messages back to your family back home here in Canada. And in the event you're in a country where language barrier is a challenge, they'll provide language assistance. So folks, before I do conclude, just a few parting thoughts that I really want you to be conscious of and really want you to consider when you are shopping for your travel insurance needs for this upcoming year. Make darn sure you familiarize yourself with the general exclusions and limitations in all policies as they apply to all policyholders. This isn't just COVID related, folks. There's other exclusions and limitations. This is not a commodity product, folks. All insurers have little nuances and different changes to their policy wordings. You want to make sure that you are paired with an insurer that's going to provide you with the protection you need when and if that fateful day comes, that you really do need that protection. Got to read that policy and understand how it applies directly to you. Pre-existing conditions, always an important one, folks, okay? Those stability clauses aren't created equal in the marketplace. You'll be looking at a 90-day, a 180-day, a 365-day stability clause, making it very challenging to satisfy. So you just want to make sure that you're going into things eyes wide open and that you know exactly what it is you're being covered for. If you do have questions, more questions, of course, and I'm sure you will after today's presentation, and there will always be more questions come to mind, I suggest that you visit our johnson.ca/coronavirus site. We've set up a pretty robust listing of FAQs, frequently asked questions, and we do continue to add to them as the theme of the questions continue to evolve and change. Another suggestion that I always make for travelers is download the Travel Smart phone app for up-to-date information on your travel destination. So this is managed by travel.gc.ca. Great little tool. Make sure that you are very current and up to date on what is happening at your destination. So for those of you who are interested in exploring MEDOC a little deeper or in enrolling in the plan, you've certainly got a few options. And again, folks, I will reiterate, I do apologize to any of you who have had some challenges getting through to us. You can only imagine when, we're having essentially 95% of our travelers making their buying decision and their travel arrangements for travel within a couple of week window. So it has been something, but we're definitely on the other side of the very heavy volume now. Wait times have dropped significantly, and I'm certain that we're going to be able to look after you and manage you now if you do call in at our 1-866-606-3362. But for those who'd like to do a little online research, or you can most certainly apply online, visit us at johnson.ca/federal retirees. You just walk through the quote presentation from there. And if you would like to have an application form mailed out to you, we can also arrange to have that done as well. Simply reach out to us at johnson.ca/travel-insurance. And folks, that concludes my part of the presentation.
Thank you so much, Shawn, for that. That's a lot of information, a lot of great information, and I know that everyone in attendance here is very interested in specifically that. Just to reiterate something that Shawn said, a lot of the questions that we receive, what my team receive, they are answered on that FAQ page that Shawn mentioned. So I definitely recommend checking that out. Most of the questions that, as I said, you'll get your answers there. And just to also add a little bit to what Shawn is saying, of course, 2020 was an unbelievable year, very challenging year to say the least. But I just want to say that, again, being my team receives a lot of the feedback and the comments from our members that travel with Medoc, and we've received so many emails saying, thank goodness I had Medoc. I don't know what I would have done without it for those cases where it is more severe and it goes over 500,000, which does happen more than than you'd like to think. So it's absolutely literally been a lifesaver for many of our members, and I know that they really appreciate it. So thank you very much for all that, Shawn. So we're going to segue right over into the questions, the Q&A session. So as I said at the beginning, we have collected all the questions. We received hundreds upon when you registered, there was an option to submit. So thank you again to everyone who submitted. We have a lot. I'm not sure if we'll get through them all, but we're making pretty good time here. So I think we might be able to get through hopefully all of them. So let's just jump right into that. And the first question is for Shawn. So yeah, so the questions that I've compiled here, it's roughly and in order, I would say. The most common questions we received. So we kind of boiled them down and amalgamated the list. So that's what we've got here. So not surprising, Shawn, you did touch on it, but if you could elaborate a little bit more. So people are wondering, can you explain why there is no trip cancellation, trip interruption for COVID-19? Is everything else still covered, but just that one thing with the trip cancellation, trip interruption? Any chance that this could be added later?
Great question, folks. And I will say, as I'm responding to the questions, as Johnson is the broker for this, I thought it only smart and prudent to approach the insurer, Royal and Sun Alliance, to have these questions fielded. So what I'm getting is directly from the underwriter. So forgive me as I read off the responses, but definitely the best and most prudent approach. So the main reason why Medoc currently doesn't cover trip cancellation, trip interruption insurance for COVID-related reasons is that at the time that we were undergoing renewal negotiations for the new policy year that started September 1, 2021, there were no reinsurers that were willing to cover these benefits. So this is reflected in the marketplace and why the vast majority of travel insurance plans also exclude trip cancellation and trip interruption for COVID-related reasons. Many companies in the travel industry, including airlines and hotels, have responded to this trend and are providing flexible cancellation policies. The few travel insurance plans that do provide TC and TI for COVID-related reasons typically only provide limited trip cancellation or interruption with an additional surcharge. And please know that we monitor the travel market and our Medoc offerings at all times, and monitoring the viability of providing TC/TI for COVID-related reasons is certainly part of that. And rest assured, is my job as the broker, and as we seek our market competitors, it is our job to continue to challenge the insurer on securing this and making this offering available as well. And that is one that we will continue to push on.
Thank you for that.
And I'm sorry, I should go on to elaborate, or just to add a little further clarity. I don't think I've answered this question in its entirety. Has anything else changed around TCTI? No. We still have one of the most benefit-rich trip cancellation, trip interruption plans with the most number of covered events, everything from you're called from jury duty, you have a natural disaster at your home, to a family member falls ill and you have to become a caregiver for them and can't go, you have a traveling companion, you booked a dream trip with another couple and the other couple happens to fall ill. Well, that's grounds for trip cancellation under your own policy. So it's still very, very benefit-rich without a doubt. But as it pertains specifically and directly to COVID-19, not for this policy year.
And thank you for really highlighting that and reiterating that, because keep in mind, that's a benefit that is not available through your public service healthcare plan benefits. So that we get all this other those great circumstances that you don't have to worry about. And so I just think it's really nice to mention that again. Thank you very much, Shawn. So next question is for Ron.
Yes.
A lot of questions about this. About the PCR testing. You know, we're vaccinated. Why do we need the testing? So do you think the government will drop the PCR testing for vaccinated travelers in the coming days?
That's a good question, but we've made some progress on the shorter trips of 72 hours where they've removed the PCR tests. And but our general manager, Brett Walker, who's the chair of CATO, which is the Canadian Association of Tour Operators, and the Canadian Tourism Roundtable, have mentioned that they think, or from their learnings and findings, that by the new year or soon after, for all fully vaccinated travelers, there will be a removal of it. But there's also going to be another federal announcement on December 8th addressing how the government's planning to eliminate the PCR testing in 3 phases. So we don't have all the details, but we know that a rapid test, also known as an antigen test, are designed to tell you whether you're infectious or not, is more practical, reasonable, economical.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Thank you, Ron. And I think, at the time that these questions came in, we did get that update.
Yeah.
So, but just to good to mention where things are right now. Thank you. So back over to Shawn. People were asking, Shawn, will MedOc cover things like quarantine while abroad and PCR testing, given that they're part of the trip? Could those be claimed? Because the PCR test can be pricey.
Good question, but unfortunately the answer is no. And under emergency medical travel insurance, it is just that. It is to cover you for emergency medical procedures and situations. We've had folks in the past who've gone to get dental work done in Mexico because it was cheaper than getting it done in Canada and wanted to put it through the PSHCP, but thus their travel insurance said, we're saving the government money. You cannot do that. It has to fall under an emergency medical travel. So what we were doing last year and what we'll continue to do is, let's say a booster shot is required at destination, or it's an opportunity, and you have an adverse reaction to the booster shot. We're not going to cover you for the cost of the booster, but we absolutely will for any health situation that results. So a negative adverse reaction to that, we will absolutely cover you. But no, for things like the PCR tests, we do not cover those. And also, if you have to quarantine at destination because you've tested positive, unfortunately, no, we do not cover that as well. That falls under that trip interruption exclusion that is specific to COVID. Now, I will say though, and I should note, in the event you fall under that situation, whether you're insured with us or any other carrier for that matter, in the event you have to quarantine at destination, don't forget about calling your insurance company to get additional days of coverage secured, because we don't know. It might be on day 5 after that COVID diagnosis or the PCR test positive result that your health takes a dramatic turn for the worse and you now require care. You've got to make sure that you are still covered for that medical benefits. Okay, so again, if you have to extend that trip because of the quarantine requirement, call your insurer and make sure that you get your insurance extended as well.
Very, very important point. Thank you, Shawn. Okay, back to Ron. Can you please speak to people with mixed vaccines? Will this be an issue if we travel with Collette, or will it be an issue just in general for travelers?
No, there's been a lot more clarity on that. So far, this hasn't been an issue as countries around the world have acknowledged and accepted vaccine programs. So Canada, US, EU, etc. So opposed to the brands vaccines themselves or different schedules, as of today, there was even 3 additional COVID-19 vaccines approved by the World Health Organization. So I think it's Sinopharm, referred as Covelo, Sinovac, referred to as Coronavac, and Covaxin. So no, so mixed vaccines, things like that. The other thing is the federal government does not currently intend to include COVID-19 booster shots within its vaccine mandate as well.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, Shawn, so people were inquiring, and we've spoken to it, but if you could just maybe highlight it that one more time. Isn't the $500,000 in coverage we receive through our public service healthcare plan benefits, how is that not enough for trips 40 days or less? I know you've told me some stories too, but go ahead.
Yes, I sure have. And I'll stick to my script, but yes, then I can elaborate a little more. But while it is true that the cost of treatment for a lot of medical emergencies abroad will not exceed $500,000, a major medical incident could incur a multi-million-dollar hospital bill, and you'll be on the hook for the excess amounts. It's as important, if not more important, to protect yourself against that type of large loss. And what's more, MedOc does also provide access to additional coverage features, such as unlimited travel in Canada and access to supplemental plan coverage. So that's, again, for those folks, you traveled longer than the 40 days, all of a sudden there is no PSHCP coverage anymore. MedOc pays from $1 come day 41 of that trip. So very important to note that as well. I wish I could remember the date, folks, but I used to leave a slide in my PowerPoint presentations that referred to the Canadian Snowbirds Association, who recommended that no Canadian leave Canada without a bare minimum of $1 million of coverage. But I'm pretty sure this slide was dated 2011 or 2012 information. It was quite old. I would challenge anybody to find a policy that has a limit less than 2 million nowadays, and most are 5 and moving towards that 10 million like we have. So my short answer would be no. I would not suggest you go for half an hour into the United States without more than $500,000 of coverage. We never know what might happen. The cost per claims are tremendous. Stay overnight in hospital in Florida after you're just going to bed can cost upwards of $10,000, and was more than that at the height of COVID when hospitals were full. So you can just imagine, throw in a couple of diagnostic tools and maybe a hip surgery on top of that, and before you know it, my goodness. For the cost, folks, for the ultimate peace of mind, it's of course a personal choice, but it is one that I wouldn't even consider. I would strongly suggest you get additional.
I think you mentioned too, it's generally about 15% increase year over year, the costs in places like the state medical costs. It's one of the most, it's already expensive, and it gets worse every year.
Medical inflation trend is something else. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, thank you. So Ron, this came up a few times, and it's like as if COVID wasn't bad enough, but I've heard that there's a microchip shortage, and this is leading to car rental shortages in many places, including North America.
I can just attest. I was out in Alberta last week, and to rent a car and go from Alberta to Calgary was $700 for 3 days. So because of that microchip shortage, and there's been challenges in renting vehicles, and again, because of the high demand and limited capacity, rental fees are just exorbitant, going through the roof. And also, just to give you an example, I don't know if you heard this, but in Hawaii, locals have been complaining because visitors can't get a car. They've been renting U-Haul vans and trucks and going around the island, and they can't do any moving. So this is why you got to take a guided tour. So you don't have to worry about the high rental costs of these cars, and nor do you have to worry about driving on the wrong side of the road.
Well, that's certainly a good point in favor of the guided tours.
But what's happening now, again, you're seeing, because of industry coming back and the economic growth and development, even Tesla's Hertz bought 100,000 Tesla cars. So, just for sustainability. So there's a lot of things happening, but right now the current landscape is that challenge.
Okay. Well, I didn't know that about the Tesla.
Yeah.
But we are seeing it going that way. So
absolutely
not too surprising. Yeah.
No.
Back to you, Shawn. How is MEDOC covering or not covering unvaccinated plan members? Will vaccinated policyholders get a better rate than non-vaccinated members? If you could speak to that whole area.
Great question. And again, folks, all to wrap around and mirror that public service healthcare plan approach. If they're not going to ask, neither are we. So regardless of your vaccination status, coverage is available for COVID-19 medical emergencies, and coverage for trips that are canceled and coverage, yes, that are canceled or interrupted. We do not offer different coverage or rates based on vaccination status. Okay, so given the current strict vaccination requirements to board a plane or train or cross the border, we felt this would not add value. In fact, it would add complications for members, such as having to submit proof of vaccinations at time of claim. So.
Oh, yes. Okay, I see. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you, Shawn. Okay, Ron, can you speak to this is something we heard about recently, mostly from our members in Quebec. Is there any issues with maiden names not matching up with COVID passports and regular passports? Have you heard about this? And is this do you expect this to be an issue for certain travelers if it's not a perfect match?
Yeah, we need more clarity on that. So I don't want to give a wrong answer here, but we don't have a national COVID passport. Most provinces have referred to as their own proof of vaccination card or code. I just don't want to say that's all I can say. However, as long as there's ID that matches that code or certificate, you'll be fine. And we haven't had any challenges from that.
That's where I landed with this too. If you can prove, look, this is my passport, this is mine, I can prove it to you, and you can show a marriage certificate as well, perhaps if just bring as much ID as you can, and then prove that it's you, and you should be fine. I think
you're seeing that when you're dining indoors, and but till we get this universal standard vaccine passport, then things will change. But for now, it's as long as you have your ID and that QR certificate, you're fine.
Okay. Shawn, I used to have Medoc, but I let it go in 2020. To get it back, what do I need to do?
Well, we're not going to hold that against you, Jeff, for one. Quite simple. Not you, exactly. Quite simple though, folks. Main factors, as always, need to ensure that you are an active member with the National Association of Federal Retirees and your spouse as well, if you are looking to buy family coverage through Medoc. Okay, and then in the event that that is all good and in place, then you simply go online at those URL that I showed you earlier, or give a call into our people. We are not going to charge you the full year premium this year. We will prorate that policy. So if you called us on December 1, we're only going to charge you from December 1 to end of August of the following year. Okay,
yeah, thank you. So yeah, just when you think of Medoc, think about federal retirees. They do go hand in hand. It is a package deal, so you do have to be active with us to get your Medoc all in order. Thank you. Ron.
Yes.
What is the best way to find out if a country is safe?
Well, we have that. I did cover it in the presentation. We had that referred partnership with CIBT. However, I know people like to seek and source more information. So again, the World Health Organization, the CDC, which is the Center of Disease Control, Johns Hopkins, we gather so much information through our experts, but and the government site, but also another good source, and I'm going to share this, and we don't have a referred partnership with, is Sherpa, which is SHERPA.ca. So this members can use this interactive map to discover the COVID-19 test requirements, quarantine protocols, and any entry restrictions for anywhere in the world. Very simple, easy, and understanding, and yeah, so it's a great online tool.
That was Sherpa.ca.
Sherpa.ca. Yes.
All right, just throwing that in the chat.
And will allow your members to become travel experts, and it's a good source of information.
Thank you very much. Right, Shawn, how do cancellations work if there are COVID-19 flare-ups in the destination booked? If I'm booked, I'm not comfortable going anymore due to something that's going on, is that a valid reason to cancel in Medoc size?
Unfortunately, it isn't, Jeff. There must be an occurrence on one of the covered events listed in the policy in order for that cancellation interruption claim to occur. Simply being uncomfortable to travel is not a covered event under Medoc. Furthermore, coverages for trips that are canceled interrupted due to COVID-19, they are not available, unfortunately. So that's where you go to your tour provider, your travel provider, you ask them about options on vouchers, on pieces like that. I do know that a lot of carriers have been a lot more flexible this year, over the last year and a half for sure. But specifically to this question, I don't feel comfortable going because cases are on the rise. Will you pay me, TripCan, for this? The answer is no. Again, tied back to that COVID piece.
Okay, thanks. Ron, does Collette charge a service fee? And if so, how much?
No, we don't charge a service fee, as being a wholesaler, but we do, are able to have your members book directly with Collette. But the one thing is, through the silver lining of this pandemic is working with a travel advisor, and most travel advisors, again, can make the process, very easy, seamless, effortless, beginning to end. And they do charge a professional service fee, and usually they apply that fee to final payment. So and this is going to be the norm for most travel advisors.
All right, thank you. Shawn, next question for you. Can you skip down to question 13? We're getting redundant. I feel like you've really properly answered it. Let's go ahead and move down to 13 because I even saw some questions in the chat here. Can you speak to cruises? Are they safe? Are they covered by Medoc, even though they have some have advisories, federal travel advisories? Are there any extra steps we need to take to cruise safely now?
Great question, folks. I'm going to answer on the principle of insurance, okay, and surrounding that. We have secured coverage for COVID-19 for those who do want to travel on cruise ships, okay? That's first and foremost. Even though the travel advisory is still on, we are covering any traveler who wants to book and go on a cruise. Okay, you're covered for up to that 10 million in medical should anything arise with respect to COVID. Now, with respect to travel advisories due to COVID-19 are in effect. Sorry, I should say coverage for trips that are canceled or interrupted due to COVID-19, though, still not available. That same theme, folks, okay? Government Canada is currently advising against cruise travel, regardless of the vaccination status. They further state that if an outbreak of COVID-19 were to occur on a cruise ship while outside of Canada, you could be subject to quarantine procedures on board. Range of consular services available to those in the ship may be significantly restricted by local authorities, especially in situations of quarantine. And it's unlikely that there would be a government organized repatriation flight to return to Canada. So this is a little bit of research that RSA did in looking into this as well. So while I don't know if it's really our place to speak on whether or not cruises are safe to travel on or not, what I can assure you from a emergency medical perspective, you will be covered up to that 10 million limit if something was to happen and you are on those cruises. But unfortunately, any of those non-medical out-of-pocket fees for either quarantining or arranging flights back home that cost extra money, fortunately, no cover for that.
All right, thank you. You did touch on this a little bit, Ron, pretty important. So I definitely think this question is worth going over a little bit more. What would you say are the latest best practices to stay safe while flying?
Yeah, I have actually been to the Caribbean, Europe, and Canada, traveling within Canada. And the one thing is I have to say that the airports have been doing an exceptional, excellent job of sanitizing, creating a safe environment. Masks are worn inside the airports unless you're eating or drinking. Things tend to be a bit slower, but after you're inside the airport, you'll feel normal and safe. You know, you visit an airport restaurant while waiting for your flight. Again, you're able to take your mask off, but Transport Canada requires masks to be worn at all times during your flight unless you're eating and drinking. And again, we talked about the high efficiency particulates air filters, be it on the coach and on the aircraft. But I can tell you that it captures 99.9% of the particulates from the recirculated air in the aircraft or coach. So we've all heard it. It's safer to fly and be in an airport and on a coach than some of these essential big box stores.
Okay.
But the other thing too, I just wanted to mention, I don't know if you can see this, Jeff, but the clean care programs, all the airlines are implementing and initiating, and hand sanitizers, masks, wipes, they're following all the safety protocols, safeguard measures. And like I said, I've been to Europe, I've been to the Caribbean and Western Canada in the last 3 weeks, and I completely safe, no challenges, no incidents. So.
Okay, great. Yeah, I think it's important for people to hear that. So thanks for sharing more about your experience. Okay, Shawn, how much has the cost of insurance changed?
Great question. Travel market has been pretty heavily impacted by COVID. No shock, of course, to anybody. Most insurers have had to adjust coverage and rates to address the emerging risks and evolving needs of the travelers. Throughout the pandemic, we've seen a lot of insurers make plan changes and enhancements up to like high double-digit increases. Fortunately, the MEDOC hasn't been in that position. In fact, in contrast, in 2020, we provided 4 months of extra coverage. So we extended that policy from September right through till end of December with a payment holiday, no additional charge for that. At that renewal, there was a 7.5% increase. And then at our most recent renewal that just happened in September, we had a very, very marginal 2.5% increase, which we were really pleased at. So we outperformed the marketplace there without a doubt. So I would argue, not argue, I think we see it in our competitive analysis that we are more competitive now than we maybe ever have been.
Okay, thank you. Ron, jumping down just a bit, because we're almost out of time.
Yeah.
Are you aware of any countries at the moment that will not accept Canadian travelers, even though they're double vaccinated?
No, but the one thing is the Canadian government, because there's the non-essential travel advisory lifted, to those countries, there's probably a level 3 and 4 that it would be for us not to visit those countries. So, and again, restrictions are constantly being lifted on a weekly basis, but if you can see what's happening over in Austria, you know, they've just went into a lockdown. So things are still fluid and changing, and, you know, quite rapidly. But again, that's why we're using these online resource tools that to keep us abreast and informed.
Okay, great. I think we have time for one more question, and we can go back to Shawn. This is something we hear quite a bit lately. So if you could speak to this, Shawn, can members pay less and just get some coverage for one trip? Is there any ability to pay extra and get that the trip interruption, trip cancellation? They'll pay for it. Can you just speak to like the modification of Medoc?
Yeah, Medoc has been an evolving product, folks, for 25 plus years. We've tried that in the past. The shorter single trip plans did not go well, failed miserably. In fact, cannibalized some of the other parts of the plan. Loss ratios were so high that we were actually charging more for a 10-day trip than we were for a 40-day trip with others. So it was not effective and didn't work out. So Medoc's plan design is based on making insurance simple for the customer ultimately. With an annual plan covering multiple trips, you always have that insurance that's ready to go, whether you're booking your trip just now or you're actually just out the door departing on that trip. What's more, based on the comparisons actually of Medoc's 40-day plan versus the masses and the plans out there for single trips, we found that in a lot of the cases that we are more affordable. And that does not include the fact that we include trip cancellation, trip interruption, and trip delay up to that 15,000 maximum, which is not a cheap benefit to buy in the marketplace. So I would strongly suggest, even for that traveler who says, I don't need Medoc, I go on one trip for 2 weeks a year, give us a try. Check out our website, give us a quick call. You might be very surprised. And what I can assure you is you are definitely going to get a very benefit-rich plan.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And I think that's a good place to end it. We are at 2:30, so we're out of time. I would like to thank Ron and Shawn, as well as every one of you, for making the time to join us today to learn more about a safe return to travel. We will be posting a recording of today's session to our website, federalretirees.ca. And just once again, I urge you to share that link with your friends, family, and especially prospective members. Remember that our mega recruitment drive is ongoing through the end of December. We have a grand prize of $10,000 cash, courtesy of Johnson Insurance, and other great prizes, $5,000 trip voucher from Collette. Thank you both. And all it takes for you to be entered is to draw one successful referral of a qualifying member. So again, just wish you all a great day, and we wish you all safe travels. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.